Lao Tzu states his next sutra, conceived of as having no name, it is the originator of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of all things. Let's delve deeper into this. Existence is nameless. The moment we give something a name, it comes into being. Until a name is assigned, everything remains a part of the infinite existence. But as soon as it is named, it separates, becomes distinct and individual. Naming is the boundary that creates separation. Without names, everything is one. With names, things break apart and appear divided. Lao Tzu says the nameless is the origin of heaven and hell, the ultimate source. The named, however, becomes the mother of all things. If humans did not exist on earth, there would be no distinctions among things. A rose and its thorn would not be separate. There is no real difference between them. A thorn is as connected to the rose as your heart is to your eyes. Similarly, the earth and sky are indistinguishable. There is no clear line where the ground ends and the sky begins. They are two aspects of the same reality. The ocean and the land are also intertwined. Dig anywhere on land and you will find water. Dive deep into the sea and you will find land beneath. The ocean is more water and less soil, while the land is more soil and less water. One cannot exist without the other. If we remove humans, nothing is separate. Everything is interconnected, a single unified whole. But with human perception, distinctions arise, not because things are inherently separate, but because we see them that way. If I look at you, I see your hand as different from your eyes as distinct from your ears from your legs. Yet within your being, there is no separation. Your hand, eyes, ears, and legs are all extensions of the same life force. The energy flowing through your hand is the same as the energy in your eyes. They are not separate entities, but one continuous flow of existence. When we assign names, however, divisions are created. We say eyes, and they become separate from ears. We say hands, and they are no longer legs. Naming draws boundaries, dividing what is essentially one. Lao Tzu teaches that the nameless, the source of all existence, is whole and undivided. But as soon as we name it, distinctions emerge. He gives two names to existence, heaven and hell, or bliss and suffering. In human experience, there are two profound feelings, joy and sorrow. But even these are not truly separate. If we let go of names, joy and sorrow become intertwined, each a part of the other. Every joy carries a trace of pain, and every pain holds a hint of joy. But our minds, trained to name and categorize, we label one as joy and forget the pain within it. We call the other sorrow and ignore the joy hidden in it. In reality, no love exists without a trace of hate, and no hate exists without a trace of love. Words may separate them, but deep down they are interconnected. Those we love, we sometimes resent. Those we hate, we only hate because in some way we care. Even enmity holds a strange kind of attachment, just as friendship carries a subtle distance. Words create rigid boundaries, while existence is fluid and dynamic. Where words draw lines, existence blurs them. In existence, life and death are inseparable. They are two sides of the same coin. Health and sickness too are interconnected. Only the healthy can fall sick. A dead man cannot be ill. Illness requires life. Recognizing sickness is only possible because we understand health. Where existence flows, opposites dissolve, and unity prevails. To know the infinite, we must abandon names and words. But we find it almost impossible to exist without naming. The mind cannot simply observe, it names instantly. A flower appears, and the mind calls it a rose, judging it as beautiful or ugly, familiar or unfamiliar. In doing so, we lose the flower itself, becoming trapped in a web of words. Lao Tzu reminds us that the nameless is the source of all existence, while naming gives rise to all things. If we name God, he becomes an object. If we name the soul, it too becomes a thing. Yet if we look at a stone without naming it, the divine can reveal itself within it. Conversely, if we name a loving heart, calling it my son, my mother, or my wife, it turns into an object, losing its vitality. Naming transforms consciousness into a thing, while letting go of names transforms things into consciousness. Lao Tzu categorizes existence into two, heaven and earth. By earth he means matter, and by heaven, consciousness. The nameless is the source of all matter and consciousness. The process of naming creates the world of objects, and we live in this realm of objects. In our relationships too, we turn people into objects. When I love someone, I want their love to remain unchanged. I want reliability, predictability like that of an object. So I impose societal or legal bindings, turning the person into something fixed. But when a living person becomes an object, conflicts arise because no person can truly become lifeless or static. This conflict creates frustration as we expect permanence in a world that is fluid. In our society, relationships are more collections of objects than gatherings of individuals. The moment I say, I am your lover, I give a name to something that is dynamic, ever-changing. Love becomes confined to a label and the spontaneity dies. The lover is expected not to feel anger or change, leading to suppression and falsehood. Over time, suppressed emotions like anger transform into resentment and the love diminishes. This happens because we have named love. If I had not named it, I could have allowed it to flow, to transform naturally. Lao Tzu emphasizes that the act of naming is where the mistake begins. A fleeting moment of emotion is turned into a permanent label. If we could observe deeply, we might refrain from naming and simply let things be. The nameless is the source of vitality, while naming confines and limits. Lao Tzu's wisdom urges us to remain silent, to observe without assigning names, and to experience the wholeness of existence without the divisions created by our words. Through this, even a stone can reveal the divine, and life itself can be seen as sacred. Imagine if for a moment you forgot all words, all language. Just an hour of complete silence where no words exist. Would anything truly change? The ground beneath you, the sky above, the light, the shadows, they would all remain as they are. Would distinctions persist? Would there still be Christian and Hindu, man and woman, neighbor and stranger? Without words, the walls of separation dissolve, leaving only an expansive, limitless existence. In that boundless realm, there would be no names, no labels, only two fundamental experiences. Lao Tzu called them heaven and earth, or, in modern terms, consciousness and matter. These are not objects, but sensations, limitless and fluid. Yet the moment we name something, we limit it, confine it to a boundary, turning it into an object. A chair becomes mine. A relationship becomes a possession, my husband, my wife, my child. And in naming, we create ownership and consequently suffering. Think about it. When we name a relationship, we attempt to bind it. A parent claims ownership of a child, saying, "This is my son." But what happens when that child takes his last breath? Can the parent demand the universe to return what they thought was theirs? No. The child's existence is part of the vast flow of life, which is unclaimable. Yet, through words, we attempt to impose control, to turn the fleeting into something permanent. This creates the illusion of stability, but it's an illusion that life relentlessly shatters. Lao Tzu warns us about the burden of naming. A single word can reduce the infinite. A story illustrates this. Lao Tzu once walked with a friend and a guest. The guest, uncomfortable with the silence, remarked, "What a beautiful morning." Later, Lao Tzu told his friend, "Do not bring that man again. He is too talkative." Surprised, the friend replied, "But he only said one thing." Lao Tzu responded, "The morning was beautiful until he spoke." His words imposed a limit, reduced the boundless beauty to something finite. Silence is not absence, it is presence. True beauty, true love, true understanding arise in silence. But silence is difficult for us. We use words not to express but to mask, to fill the void that silence exposes. Sigmund Freud noted that people don't talk to reveal, they talk to conceal. In our words, we build walls, hiding our true selves behind them. Spend an hour with someone in silence and you will know them more intimately than a year of conversations could reveal. Words distract, silence reveals. In silence, you notice the subtleties, the way they move, their gaze, the unspoken rhythm of their presence. Yet, when you recall someone, what remains? Mostly, their words. Rarely do we remember how they looked at us, how their presence felt. We lose the essence of the person, trapped in the memory of their words. This is the trap of naming, of speaking too much, of trying to define the undefinable. Lao Tzu invites us to embrace the flow of life without trying to bind it, to live without clinging to names, and to experience existence in its pure, boundless form. Let go of words, let go of labels, and life will reveal its infinite beauty. Do you remember a person, truly? Or do you remember only their words? When we think of someone, we don't recall their presence, their gestures, or their essence. What remains is just the echo of their words. It's as if the person was never there, only a recording, a gramophone of their words. Try to picture your mother's face with your eyes closed. Can you truly recall it? You might think you can, but when you focus, the details blur. The shape, the features, they start to fade. What you remember is likely an image, perhaps a photograph on the wall, not the living, breathing person who nurtured you. The photograph is clear, but the memory of the person is distant, almost unreachable. Why is this so? We avoid truly seeing the living. It's not just us, others do the same to us. Life becomes a constant act of shielding, hiding ourselves and avoiding the reality of others. Language becomes the perfect tool for this evasion. Words create a barrier, a convenient shield to keep the living, raw truth at bay. A French scientist once lived among the Eskimos in Siberia for 12 years. These people are among the few on Earth who have not been consumed by the complexities of language. They speak very little, just a handful of words in a day. If they feel hunger, they don't say, "I'm hungry." They simply utter hunger, and their entire being expresses it, their hands, their eyes, their body. The scientist initially found it unbearable. Used to constant chatter, he was desperate to talk. For 6 months, he felt as if he were in hell. With no one to converse with, he resorted to speaking to himself loudly in solitude. This might sound familiar. Don't we all talk to ourselves at times? Walking down a street, we often see people muttering, gesturing, even arguing with themselves. We're constantly engaged in conversation, whether with others or within ourselves, leaving no room for silence. But after those 6 months, something extraordinary happened. The scientist began to experience moments of silence, true, wordless gaps in his thoughts. In these moments, he realized that the Eskimos lived in a completely different reality, a reality untouched by the endless noise of words. This is the world Lao Tzu speaks of, a realm of wordless experience. When words dominate, we see objects. We name them, define them, and box them into categories. But when words fade away, so does the world of objects. What remains is pure existence, unfiltered and boundless. Lao Tzu invites us to step into this wordless world where the essence of life reveals itself, not through names, not through language, but through silence and being. Let this teaching inspire you to embrace the unspoken beauty around you and within you. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more explorations of timeless wisdom. Until next time, stay mindful and stay inspired.